morning, whale community, and welcome to another episode of MakersPlace X Whale. This morning we have the absolutely fabulous Yiying Lu, who is here joining us to discuss her upcoming drop on MakersPlace. And as a little bit of background about her, I know we've had her as a guest a couple times. She's one of our resident amazing community members here in the whale community. But she also creates iconic designs and brands which actually transcend linguistic barriers and unite people and absolutely enchant audiences around the world. She is a bilingual speaker who's both fluent in English and Chinese, and really has strong focus on cross-cultural design, creativity, and innovation, including appearances at places like South by Southwest, TEDx, and Adobe Max. So she's definitely an expert, I think, in the space of communicating cross-culturally, and I think this is a really exciting opportunity for us to take a peek into what it is she is building this week here in the metaverse. So Yiying, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me, Candy. Great to be here as always.
It is so fabulous to have you join. And we have, let's see, let me pull this up because I think having it on the screen is going to be important. Your drop that's coming up. And this is not your first drop, but it is a very timely one, being that we have now entered the year of the tiger. And perhaps that's something that you could tell us a little bit about the journey, because we started with the last interview that I did with you was Luminary, and
Yes.
we were looking at, the amazing moon goddess and, celebrating another cultural event. And now we have the year of the tiger.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the amazing introduction. I really appreciate it. And I think it's so much fun to do this with you again. And last year we did the Moon Goddess at the Autumn Moon Festival. And it was also around the same time, it was the NYC, the NFT.NYC event. So it was so great and also very auspicious that we're doing the introduction of the job, which happens tomorrow on the 23rd of February at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. But the cool thing about today and tomorrow, so tomorrow is the National Pink Day. So I will also show you a pink tiger, which is going to be a community giveaway tiger. There's only one available for existing and new collectors. And the other really cool thing is today, it's the 22nd of February, which happened to be a very auspicious day because everything is two. It's like 22222. So the year of tiger right now, we're in the year of the tiger. We're literally on the 22nd day of the lunar calendar. It's also 22. It's just super coincidental. And if you miss today, you have to wait another 222 years to experience all the twos in like literally the day counting. So everything just feels very kind of cosmetically aligned, and I'm just super happy to do it the second time with Candy. I just have to do it on a Tuesday, which is the
Yes.
second day of the week. So the reason why that we decided to do this job, it's very, very timely, and it's also very, very serendipitous because it just so happened because of this year, the Lunar New Year, is the year of the tiger. And I've been wanting to create a tiger for a long time. I think I probably have been ruminating, not illuminating, my L and R thing. It's my English. As most of the Asian do, we confuse L and R. So I say ruminating. I've been ruminating around creating a tiger for the longest time. And it was interesting because I initially created the tiger. I try to create the tiger when now you see the tiger, but I initially created this big cat. Today is also the National Cat Day in Japan, which is, if you know the Nanyang cat, it's like yan yan. That's the that's the way of Japanese cats meowing. So that's why it's the National Cat Day. I don't know if you have any comment,
I,
Candy.
I just don't understand how you can fit so many coincidences into a single event. Like, this is absolutely magical.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to say I did my research, but it's really the research came to me. A lot of times I would caught attention of interesting fun facts on different areas. Like I would scroll Instagram and I would see information that just speaks to me, and I would sort of put it into my memory system. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about how the tiger started. I created this piece, which hasn't been released as a NFT yet. This was in 2020. I created this. It's a clouded leopard as a way of natural conservation. So I created this as a conservation art piece for international biological diversity avocation. So I've since then I've been always wanting to create big cats, and tiger is one of them. I created the lion as well. I have the lion here. Oh, I also have a cat. I have a lots of cats going on. I love dog because I'm a dog person as well, but I love cats. So this is a cat, lucky cat. So we've got lots of cats going on. We're celebrating big cats. So this is the lion. Can you see the lion?
Oh,
Um,
yes. My
so
goodness.
so these are not NFT yet. I haven't made them into NFT, but I created them initially as a um, international biological conservation project. And that's also how I met whale shark, because I also created the whale shark, which eventually was the reason it became a token of
Right?
introduction to the whale shark. It was pretty amazing. Yeah, the Alex Alaf, who's the CTO of OpenSea, saw the whale shark when we first met on Zoom, and he said, I love your whale shark. Do you know whale shark? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm gonna introduce you to whale shark, who is one of our favorite collector, and also he has a community called the Whale. And because you designed the Twitter fail whale, you have every single reason to be part of the community. And so that's how. I mean, I gotta say, thanks to the big cats. I got connected to the whale community. And so it's kind of a full circle that we're doing this another big cat, which is the tiger job, because I've been wanting to create a tiger since 2020, and it just the inspiration was there, and yet the execution didn't came about. A lot of times I think a lot of creators might have the similar journey. We kind of have to be patient. We have to kind of wait when the time came, and I really tried to create a tiger. It just doesn't feel right. And like I tried many different versions, and I wasn't really happy with it for some reason until I think early this year, because the New Year celebration, and I really want to send this out as a a wish to my family who are in Australia and also in China, and also friends around the world. So this became a urgent thing to do. So that was the inspiration behind this piece.
And I think that's absolutely amazing how connected all of your pieces are, how one thing seems to lead to another, and how, as you mentioned, you're kind of the thing with being an artist is you have these ideas, but you don't always have the right time to create them or release them. And that seems to be a thing, I think, for people who are especially creative and have so many ideas that, how do you determine which one you're going to put out? And for this, as you mentioned, it's serendipity that you have now, the timing, the connection to the other, your love of big cats and all of the year of the tiger, all of the twos. Like, this is just, it clearly is the time. So I'm very excited that you're getting them out.
Thank you, thank you. And I really appreciate the community, and I really appreciate people around me. I think it's really because of I wanted to use the art as a vehicle to connect with my family and friends. That was the main that was really kind of the main motivation for me to get the design out there, so that I can send, my parents in Sydney, I can send them my New Year wish. And it was also interesting that I got a lot of feedback from them. Like when I was working on the tiger, my dad was like, "That doesn't look like a tiger. You have to make the tail not as thick because, as you can see, like the original, there's a lot of interesting thing. Like I started to really observe the animals. If you look at the tail of the clouded leopard, it has a really thick tail, and it also has very kind of thin legs, more like a smaller cat. But the tail
Mm.
was so thick. Whereas you will see the design. I'm gonna do a little bit sort of a close up of the tiger so that we can see the differences between the designs. Let me just share my screen so that we can also see the initial design of the tiger.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you. So, can you see the tiger?
There's the tiger.
There's the tiger. So this was the initial sort of flat design, which is not animated piece that I was sending out to my friends and family. And as you can see, the tail of the tiger is actually a lot thinner than the snow leopard or the clouded leopard, which was the first biological conservation piece I was working on. And it was also really fun to work on the just on the patterns of its body because I really want to make the pattern look not only look strong in terms of like its iconic intersections of things, but it also has that sort of vivid, almost like liveliness. And what I love about the tiger is also very auspicious around the world as a very symbolic animal. What's really interesting about the tiger in the especially in Asia, I think because a lot of the natural inhabitant of tiger are in India and also Southeast Asia. And also parts of the I think northern parts of Asia as well. And what tiger also has the symbology in the culture is tiger stands for strength, cunning, confidence, majesty, independence, protection, and immortality. What's really interesting also, if you see some of the graphics and also visual motifs, especially the ancient Asian visual motifs, you will see that there's always the tiger and the dragon next to each other because they're sort of complementary. And a lot of times the dragon stands for the eastern part of the world, and the tiger stands for the western part of the world. The other really interesting thing is I'm not sure if you're familiar with some of the very medicinal products that you probably know and use already. If you go to like Thai massage place, they will put on the tiger balm. I'm literally having tiger balm in my hand. So it's interesting, like tigers are everywhere in our daily life. And especially if you live in Asia or you have traveled to Asia, you probably have seen a lot of products that has tiger there because it also acts as a way to protect people. When little baby were born in a lot of the Asian country in the olden days, the parents would actually buy the little baby tiger shoes. So these are like little tiny shoes where the baby can wear them. So tiger is very much a ubiquitous symbolism in Asia and also rest of the world. You also notice the on the head of this tiger there's a little pattern, and the pattern of the lines, it looks like a three lines with a vertical line interconnecting these three lines. It is actually the character of king in Chinese character. So it's interesting for me because I was growing up in Shanghai, China. So I was growing up sort of having a very much Asian background, but in the same time, I was reading a lot of books from around the world, the children's books. In Western world, the king of the jungle is always considered as the lion. However, in Asia, the king of the jungle is actually considered as the tiger. So that's also another interesting fun fact that I think it's nice to kind of let people know how significant it is for tiger, and also the lion as big cats, as considered as the king of the jungle.
Wow, and that is definitely interesting because that's something that I, growing up in America, like had always heard of the lion. So learning this and having the insight into your art that you actually have put the symbol, designated this as the king on the tiger's head is so amazing. Like you've been able to tie in a lot of small details that I think if people are not necessarily looking for them, they're not going to know. But now that you've shared that, like there's so much thought that has gone into this that, at first glance, perhaps people don't realize. So that's super cool.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity that I can share with more people. This is also something I think I'm very passionate about, which is the cross-cultural design. And a lot of times, because I've been living in the East for half of my life and probably living in the West more than half of my life now. But to me, it's always fascinating for me to kind of integrating my learning and also my journey into my design, so that even though people probably haven't traveled to Asia, will be able to still feel that connection with the other side of the earth.
Right. Yeah, I would say looking at it, like, obviously I would look at this and I would see a very beautiful tiger. It does, have a lot of Eastern influences in terms of the design. But I think looking at it and having the understanding of the language, like that's almost like an Easter egg for people who, you know, do understand the language. And so you get a little bit extra depending on which culture you're coming from and which background you have. And I think that's a really cool facet of the art for sure, being able to have that.
Absolutely.
Wow. It's just like it blew my mind a little bit having those things, because the meaning changes depending on, what you're seeing, even though you're looking at the exact same image. It has
Yeah.
perhaps more depth of meaning.
Yeah, thank you. I so appreciate that. I really am very much passionate about the meaning behind the depiction of
Mhm.
the work. To me, I think that visual style and the way that visual has been, the juxtaposition and also the design is important. The visual aesthetics are important, but I'm really interested into creating these layers of connection with people and audience. It doesn't matter which background they're coming from. It doesn't matter if they speak the language or not. What I was really interested in is creating that visual juxtaposition that immediately um, could establish that emotional relationship with the viewer. But in the same time, considering people are different and different people have their different culture, historical, and geographic experience. So it's always fun for me, and just like you said, to place a little or more, one or two or more Easter eggs in the graphics. So there is this rewarding moment if you happen to know these extra information that's according to your background. You'll be like, oh, I know this, and you can tell your friend. That's a way of passing on the knowledge. What I was also particularly interested was language itself. I was having a conversation recently with someone about NFT, and they're new to non-fungible token. So they were sharing their opinion about the word token. They said, oh, I'm not sure about the word token. It doesn't necessarily resonate with me. And I said, wait a minute, because English is my second language, I don't take things from a surface level and I don't take things from the face level. I said, how about let's look into the etymology of token, because I know that token at the moment doesn't necessarily have a very positive connotation. So let's look into the word of token and see what's the origin of the word token. And apparently, the word token was coming from it's actually coming from a German and Dutch origin. It's an old English, but the Dutch and German meaning of token literally means teach. It's pronounced as Taken. So token was actually a opportunity to teach. And it just blew my mind that the origin of the word token, like if you think about it, every single time when we create a NFT, and it sort of make it appear onto the metaverse, it's an opportunity to teach something that really transcends what the current meaning of NFT is.
It does. It does. And I think for you, this is, I think, especially well suited because that's a lot of, what you've done historically with the art, being, very involved in creating iconography and, things like the emoji, but also the cross-cultural icons that, transcend language itself and just evoke emotion. So being able to, as you said, turn that into an NFT or a token and thus teach, like that really furthers the work that you've already been doing. And I really loved seeing that actually in your MakersPlace bio, this time because I noticed that it updated from the last time that we had done a stream. And, this time you were actually talking about, doing more, leveraging this cross-cultural background to bridge the East and the West. And so that really ties in with that teaching. And I'm excited to see what else it is that you have to show us and, in this case, teach us because there's a lot I think that we can, stand to learn from you.
Thank you, Candy. Yeah, I absolutely love this idea of using the graphic and using the symbology and utilizing the modern technology, which in this case we have all these we have all these different ways of expression, whether it's through a graphic or animated GIF or a video. What's really fascinating here is the medium that I was using was Adobe Illustrator, right? So here the graphic actually mathematic curves, so they can enlarge and scale down into any sizes, which is also interesting because if you look at a lot of traditional drawings in Asia, a lot of times we're using ink and watercolor, and those are having they don't necessarily have a lot of flatness. There's actually a lot of depth in terms of the stroke. And so what I was trying to do here is still maintain that fluidity of the stroke. So you can see from the body, from the pattern of the tiger, there is sort of still like calligraphy inspired strokes on its body. And yet creating these lines, which is a clean, flat lines, that's more of a Western sort of print and pre-press inspired process. This was actually three color, actually four color if you're including white. So this is a four color piece, which you have the white, the black, the red, and the yellow. You can also say five color because the nose is actually pink. But I came from a print and pre-press background. In fact, I was growing up fascinated about using flat colors. I was fascinated about like the Matchbox. If you still use matches these days, like back in the days, the Matchbox has these beautiful prints or stamps. They have these beautiful prints, and usually they're much flat colors. They don't necessarily have the luxury to have the gradient color that we have today on our phone. Because of the printing process, it's a lot more complicated to do gradients or multiple colors. So a lot of times, because of the technology limitation, so the printing process, people tend to use very flat color to keep the simplicity of the graphic in order to save the printing cost. And so it is both a very much functional need to keep the color minimal, but also for me personally, I love the aesthetics, I love the simplicity, and I also love how you can just use very simple color to communicate a very complex or a very sophisticated concept. So that was also a very interesting challenge for me when I was working on my graphic or on my art. What can I do with very minimal usage of colors and shapes to communicate an idea that can connect with a lot more people?
And that, I think, is a really great example for, our artists of varying experience levels, that a lot of times less really is more. And, being able to take the very basics and create the same meaning or even a stronger meaning because you haven't muddied the message by adding extra, essentially extra noise, perhaps. I think that would be a good way to describe it. And this, the image that you have come up with is a very clean image and definitely evokes that emotion and that connection with the tiger and the new year and all of the symbology that you were, putting forth there. So this is a fabulous example.
Yeah, thank you so much, Candy. I really appreciate that summary. Exactly. I think I am really interested in that concept. How can we do less and communicate more by trusting that, like, every single stroke you use, every single shape you use, um, could really take its own life uh, towards the communication process and take its own magic to extend the meaning. And a lot of times people ask me about my creative process. Do you draw on paper? Do you sketch it out? Or do you draw directly on the computer? And my answer, especially now, in fact, I draw directly on computer. And it's interesting how the process has evolved in the last, I'd say, 20 years. Because I started a lot of my early work, I did a lot of sketches on paper. And the interesting thing about working with vector is a lot of times you can just manipulate the curves by dragging the anchor points. So as you can see, like on the body, you have all these shapes, and a lot of times I kind of just let the shape. I work with the shapes, and a lot of times I let the shape direct me. I let the graphic direct me, and I let the intuition guide me when I'm creating the actual art piece. And a lot of times it is actually a dialogue that I have with this tiger. A lot of times I kind of just like ask the tiger, how would you like me to present you? And often it's actually very liberating when you remove yourself from this idea of I am the creator and I'm creating this piece. In fact, I much prefer I am co-creating with this piece, because the piece itself wanted to come to life, and the piece itself wanted to be created. So how can I be in service of this tiger to come to the world and say hi to everyone? So I think when we are working with the intuition, I think it's something that is much bigger and vast and magical than our human logical mind can ever comprehend it. And the creative process itself is this amazing dialogue between us and something that is bigger than us.
Which I think gets us perhaps back to that initial conversation about, the destiny and meant to be, because here you are connecting with energies that are beyond yourself in order to bring something new into being.
Yeah, I love when you just said bringing something new into being, because that's also an interesting kind of a feminine sort of a role, right? We're kind of all here in some way. It's our moms bring us into being, literally. And what's also interesting, which is something that I haven't mentioned before, is if you look at the tiger, which was the king of the king of the jungle in the Eastern philosophy. And then you look at the lion, which is the king of the jungle in the Western philosophy. What's really fascinating is that tiger has been very much associated with more of a feminine energy. Um, a lot of times if we think about tiger, even the word tiger mom again, even though tiger mom has not necessarily a very positive connotation, but I was always interested because I'm growing up in Asia. I actually never have heard about the notion of tiger mom until I moved to the West, and I thought it was interesting because the female tiger historically in the animal kingdom has been one of the most loving, kind, and protective animal, because they take care of their cubs, just like the mama bears, right? We talk
Mhm.
about the mama bears, and so the female tiger has always been this fierce and also very much protective symbolism in the animal kingdom. And if you're really looking at this notion of this notion of that fierceness, and that's also a very important conversation I had recently with a mentor of mine. We're looking at the word anger. When animal gets angry, the reason why animal gets angry is because anger is a emotion that when someone's boundary has been stepped on, right? They're trying to protect their boundary, or they're trying to protect something that is precious. And what is the thing that caused the anger is because maybe their natural inhabitant has been invaded, or we as human have not necessarily taken care of their natural inhabitant. And this is also something I think it invites us as human to look into our relationship with nature. How can we make sure we're in harmony with the nature and with the moms of these natural beings, in this case the moms of bears, the moms of tigers, and the moms, in this case the mother nature. How can we ensure that the mother nature is in harmony with our current environment? So that's another thing and another reason why I was creating these animals in the first place. It wasn't created initially as non-fungible tokens. It was created as a creative expression, I guess, coming from the Mother Earth. And the other really interesting thing is, I mentioned before, is the tiger in the Eastern philosophy has been the symbolism actually more associated with female energy. And the lion in this case, which is also interesting, it's a more of a masculine energy. And I always love the idea of combining, the East and West. And I think it's very much meaningful for me to talk about, these two very important powerful big cats that's living in our nature and also living in our sort of spiritual realms.
And I think that having, that extra context, the symbology of what it is, these big cats represent to their, respective cultures in terms of, you know, how they convey that different energy is really important to understand, because looking at, I think, perhaps the rest of, the bodies of work and the messaging that is being put out into the universe, that is something that I think is a really interesting dialogue to have, in our space here, and making sure that we're balancing those energies and having the representation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank
Just,
you.
I would say actually at this point, maybe we could look into a little bit more about what's going on with your drop, because we've talked a lot about the tiger itself, but what do we have coming as a sneak peek for tomorrow? Because tomorrow, as you mentioned, at 6:30 Eastern time or 3:30 Pacific is the drop itself.
Yes, I am so excited to show you the job. And this is the sneak peek, and I'm going to show you the full job. So thank you, Candy, for mentioning about the job. So very exciting time. So I animated the piece, and I'm super excited to show you the job. This time we made it very limited. We only going to have 7 pieces of the red tiger. I mean, the red background tiger, and they're going to be priced at 1,188 or ETH equivalent. And this is the red tiger, which is animated with the red background. And it's a lot of fun to kind of just staring at it because it's kind of mesmerizing when I was creating the animation itself. Initially, I was thinking of having the background and just have the tiger as is. And I also tried to have the tiger sort of doing a bit of smiley face, but I ended up doing sort of more just having that very kind of calm interaction, as in the eye contact with the audience. I found it's actually a lot more. I just feel like there is a lot more depth when you're just looking at it. And the fur and its whisk, and also the fur on the tail kind of changes the patterns itself, sort of moves around, creates that dynamism in the movement. So that's the red one. And I'm also going to show you the, thank you. The second one is the blue one.
Oh
So,
my gosh!
believe or not, there's actually real blue tigers that exist in the world.
I'm not sure I do believe this. I'm gonna have to Google it. Like, I need to see this because
Please, please, please.
it sounds super magical, and I need this in my life now.
I'm so glad that I let you know this, Candy, because I was doing so much research on tigers when I was working on this piece, because I was curious how many different kinds of tigers and different species of tigers actually existing in the world, and I was super excited to find out there is actually a real blue tiger. They're very rare in the world, and they also they're a lot smaller than regular tigers, but take a look and Google them and Wikipedia them and find out if if it's close to your geographic location. Definitely go see them if they're close to any of the nearest location to witnessing them in real life. But I created the blue tiger. First of all, I just thought it was so much fun to make the tiger into the color blue, which is very kind of almost like a complementary color of the color red. And secondly, because it actually exists in the world, so that also makes it extra special. So I made only 3 limited editions, and they are also very much I think one of my favorite creation, which is something that is not imaginary. In this case, is something that's real, and also something that has extra rarity in the world, and also extra rarity in this particular job. So this is the blue.
This, I think,
Uh-huh.
is the most perfect thing ever because here I've learned something new today. And, I know that a lot of your focus, previously had been on animal conservation and kind of teaming up with folks, and creating the art to bring awareness to the animals. That is exactly what you've done. I learned something new. And as you mentioned, it is more rare in the wild as well as more rare in your drops. This is so appropriate. I love it.
Thank
Oh my
you.
gosh.
Thanks, Candy. And I have the next one, which is going to be really exciting for every single members in the whale community, and also my existing collectors and future collectors of this job. So because tomorrow, which is the 23rd of February, happened to be dun 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 the National Pink Day. I did not make it up. It actually is a real date.
And we see some excitement about pink in the chat. So there is support here.
Absolutely. I loved it. Because the first time when I met Candy on the metaverse, when we were doing the luminary job, that was the National Candy Day, and her name is Candy. So there's always some serendipity happen when we're having conversation. And tomorrow is the National Pink Day. And so I created this pink tiger especially to celebrate this very auspicious national day. And I also made it as a one-on-one piece. It's a just a super limited piece, and it's a going to be a community raffle job that's open to all the existing collectors and also any of the current collectors or future collectors of this job. So this is going to be only available right after the announcement or the entry period of the job, 15 minutes after the job started, which is 3:30 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow on the 23rd of February. So I hope you win.
So definitely, if you have any art on Maker's Place already or any of Yiying's other art, make sure to pull up the drop page at 3:30 and click the raffle for the pink tiger because that is an amazing piece to be able to have a one of one pink tiger.
Thank
My
you.
goodness.
Yeah, I love the color combo of the pink and the yellow. And it just feels like a complete different energy. If you kind of do like it's fun to work on all the pieces, but it was particularly fun to just work on the like the color combinations of different tigers. So I had a lot of fun working on the red and the black. But I was also having a lot of fun on working on the blue and the pink.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And what an amazing collection of colors. Having the different colors actually change the whole feel of the image, even though the image itself at its core is the same. But you get a totally different vibe depending on just the colors.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. The other really fun fact is the if you look at the pink edition, you have the yellow and pink, which is actually the magenta and the yellow. Because I'm a print person, I have to be a little bit nerdy here to talk a little bit about colors because I love colors. Especially, I love not only colors on the web but also colors in the natural world. And if you look at the previous rare one, which is the blue one, right? So the
Yep,
blue
the
one
cyans.
is yes, it's the cyan in the background. Yay! So this is really cool that like Candy just gets it. The background of the animated gates. So this is also the gates, which is I found it's fascinating to work on the animated background too. These are kind of like the gate towards the new year. I haven't really kind of talked about that one yet. The animated background, as you can see, with the red one, it's the red gate. So you kind of almost the tiger is in front of the gate, kind of saying hi to you, but in the same time, it's sort of entering towards the new year. It almost become a portal of going to the future. So that was one of the reason why that I was animating the square, but it's also the gates, which is also a lot of fun to work on. But if you look at the color itself, there's the golden fur of the tiger and the red and the black, which is the very much a auspicious Lunar New Year color combo. The other really fun thing, which again was the color, is if you look at the blue one and the pink one, I was working with the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So you can kind of also see a little bit of the printing reference I mentioned early on as kind of an Easter egg here as well.
Those are such. I think having that extra nod to, your printing background and having these very base colors, as the core of all of the rest of print, is a really fun nod. It's yet another Easter egg there. So how cool to have that
Thank you.
included in your collection.
Thank you so much. And I have the last one that I'd love to share with you, Candy, and everybody here who are tuning in. Thank you so much for staying. This is the last one I'd love to see. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this,
Oh
Candy.
my goodness. So we have a golden tiger, which it's really hard to do. And I feel this is really important for people to understand that like it's hard to get gold represented with flat colors because it happens like it's a metallic color. It only works because of the way light reflects off of it. So to be able to recreate that here on, the monitor with, the image of the tiger is a really cool thing. And, we can see in the middle actually the way you've illustrated the light kind of reflecting off of the tiger to make him a little bit more dynamic. And that's a really cool thing to see.
Thank you. I think everything you said just spot on. It was actually a very fun challenge for me when I decided to do the gold tiger because I did a little survey to everyone. I said, I'm working on this tiger and I'm curious. I've worked on these different colors. Which else would you like to see? And a lot of them said, we would love to see the golden tiger. And I said to myself, I'm going to create a golden tiger, just use very limited colors. And it's also a very flat design. And just like Kenny said, it was a very sort of a challenging process to make it work as a relatively flat design, but in the same time reflecting the simplicity of the design itself to still maintain its simplicity and yet representing the color gold. So I was using very, very simple sort of gradient here, working on, especially its ear. It's kind of almost look a little bit 3D, and working on the fur, working on the tail, and also the face and eyes. You can see the eyes also looks almost a little bit 3D as well. So it was a very simple gradient, and yet by just change the numbers of the shades of yellow and the shades of brown, it actually creates almost this texture and this feel of this golden texture. So that was a very exciting process for me to find out how powerful colors can be. And it's almost like making magic, um, using colors to create that establish that feel of gold.
And I would say it definitely has achieved the magic that you were seeking here because it is a very good representation of gold and makes this tiger look absolutely stunning. So this will be a fabulous addition to anybody's collection for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was so much fun to work on the tiger, and it's also for me, it's exciting. Every single time when I come up with a different color combination, or just working on the new symbology of it, especially like for example, working on the gold tiger. The gold tiger itself also has been a very much a staple, a staple symbolic element in people's lives. If you go to a lot of businesses in Asia, you will see they have, a lot of things are made from gold because gold color and also the gold mineral itself also acting as a way of protection and stability. Gold is actually a metal color, as you know, and gold is also the element of the five elements in the traditional, whether it's Chinese medicine or traditional Asian culture. We know that we have the five element: the fire, the water, the air, and the wood. And a lot of times we also have the soil, but the gold has always been the staple element of metal.
Fabulous. And I think that's a very strong ally to have moving into the new year. So having that extra, protection and, this amazing energy, I think is a good way to explain that. It's something that I think is amazing that you've created it, and even more lucky for us that the community will have the opportunity to be able to add this to their collection during their auction tomorrow.
Yay. Thank you.
Very, very good. I know that we are getting really close to the top of the hour, so I want to make sure before we end for today, is there anything that I haven't asked about that you would like to share with the community, Yiying?
Um, I think we pretty much covered everything, Candy. It was always so much fun and such a magic experience to talk to you, work with you, collaborating with you. I enjoyed every single minute and second just having conversation with you. And also thank you the community who have staying and tuning in to see the live and watch it later on as it recaps. So this is the link of the job. So basically, I'm using a placeholder link here, which will sorry, it's not a placeholder link. It's actually a real link, but this link is more of a forwarding link that's going to basically goes to the actual job. And it will be updated when the job happens. So if you click on this link or if you use this link, you will always be able to see whether it's a countdown of the job or the actual link of the job.
Perfect. And that's amazing to have that dynamically updating link so that today, before the drop itself goes live, you can see the preview, and then tomorrow it will actually take you to the drop page when that is available. So you only have a one-stop shop in order to be able to access everything you need. So that's an amazing approach to make it easier for your collectors.
Thank you. Yeah,
Much
it's always
appreciated.
fun. And it's always fun to hopefully I'll be able to update the numbers. So each year we have a different animal. So this is actually the very first. I forgot to mention this actually, Kenny. You just inspired me to mention this part. This is actually the very first animal that I created from the Chinese 12 zodiac animal system, and this is also in a way, I think very auspicious. The first one actually started from the year of the tiger, because I wanted to create an ox last year, but I didn't get the chance to do it. So I think that from this year, from 2022, every year I will be committed to create a new zodiac animal that reflects the animal of that year. So this is going to be the announcement. I didn't know that I'll be making this announcement, but you just inspired me to say that. Thank you, Candy.
Fantastic. Well, I've got some years to wait then for an axe, but I will be patient.
Yes. Another 11 years.
It's fine. It's fine. We will still be here and it will be ready. So I can wait and enjoy all of the adventures in the meantime. I think with that announcement, like this is a lot of alpha that has just happened. And I feel like maybe that is the perfect note to end this stream on for today. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing this amazing knowledge and, the absolute iconic iconography that you've included here. It goes way beyond just simple art, and that is something that I think the community really benefits from learning all of the thought processes, and the meanings behind your art. And so it's very lucky for us that you were willing to come share that, and we thank you very much for your time. It's very special for us indeed.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Candy. As always, it's such a joy to talk to you. And thank you so much for hosting me. And thank you everyone for staying here and being with us. And hopefully, I'll be able to come back and see you all very soon.
Oh, we will definitely have you back as frequently as you would like to come join because we love chatting with you. And with that, we will close out today. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And of course, Yiying for being here as well. We will be back again soon. And good luck with your drop tomorrow. We'll be keeping close tabs on that as well on MakersPlace. We'll make sure to share those links again in chat. And if you need anything at all, make sure to, pop into the whale community as you do. Have a good day, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Thank you, Candy. See you all soon.